This concludes my first recommendation. On to my second point, I want to argue that international students should be covered by CESB. The COVID-19 crisis has prompted researchers and entrepreneurs across Canada to focus their efforts on coming up with solutions to the various issues around the pandemic. I've been fortunate to be able to join research teams in the University of Calgary and help them commercialize their COVID-19 response technologies. One of these startups has been able to receive Health Canada authorization to produce a 3D printable nasopharyngeal swab to address the shortage of such swabs in Canada. Another startup has been able to apply leading-edge microfluidic technology to create test kits for COVID-19 virus and immune response diagnostics. This technology has been supported by a generous CIHR grant from the government. I am proud that researchers in Canada, right here in the University of Calgary, have the capabilities to develop these technologies. It has been truly inspiring to work with these tireless researchers who get up early in the morning every day, including most weekends, to go to the lab and stay there long into the night while the country is in lockdown. I want to highlight an interesting fact about these research teams that I've been working with. Most of them are international students. Of the few who aren't international students, most of them came to Canada initially as international students and eventually gained Canadian permanent residency. After the tragic incident earlier this year where a Ukrainian flight was shot down in Iran, I was asked by two journalists, how could so many brilliant scientific minds be on one flight? To me, this was an indication that perhaps we as a country do not fully grasp the extent to which international students and scholars are contributing to Canada. In fact, Professor Mojgan Danishmand of the University of Alberta, who died on that flight, had working relationships with our team and would likely be contributing to our COVID-19 diagnostics project today if she were alive. She came to Canada as an international student 20 years ago. Economically, it is estimated that international students contribute $22 billion annually to the Canadian economy, and their presence here fuels 170,000 jobs. Canada is competing with other countries globally to attract international students. Many of them choose Canada not just because of the quality of education, but also because of its reputation as a multicultural and tolerant society. Many people, including many higher education professionals and administrators, have been disappointed by the government's decision to exclude international students from the Canada Emergency Student Benefit. There are about 640,000 international students in Canada, and many of them do not need CESB because they have funding support from scholarships or other institutions. But many of them do need the CESB and are finding themselves in financial stress. These international students have multiple disadvantages to deal with compared to most Canadian students. First, they pay tuition fees that are about 3 times higher than Canadian students. Second, they typically have no family here in Canada to rely on, no place they can go to stay with their family to avoid paying rent now that everything is online. Third, their family back home is finding it difficult to support them financially because many of them have also been impacted by COVID-19. Fourth, many of the kind of jobs that these students took to support their studies in Canada are the kinds of jobs that are hit hardest by the COVID-19 pandemic. Canada is a caring country, but if we fail to take care of our international student population now, it may impact our reputation in the global race to attract international students in the future. Our universities depend heavily on international students as they have been the main driver of growth in our higher education sector in the past decade. For this reason, I recommend that Government of Canada consider including international students, at least those who don't have tuition waivers, scholarships, or other significant financial support in the CESB program. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Professor Kihani.